I still remember the exact moment my son's face lost every drop of color. The string quartet was playing something soft and elegant, white roses everywhere, champagne fizzing in crystal flutes. Everyone was smiling, until James looked toward the service tables near the kitchen doors. There, tucked behind a folding screen where the staff usually hide extra chairs, sat table 19, my table. And next to me, in a perfectly pressed navy suit, was Richard Harrington, my attorney of 23 years, the man holding the folder that could rewrite all their futures. James went pale as death. His bride turned, confused, then furious. That was the moment the fairy tale wedding cracked wide open. And the moment I finally stopped apologizing for taking up space. Let me take you back, darling, because this didn't start at the wedding. It started long before, in the quiet of my little kitchen, where I stood for decades over a hot stove so my children never knew hunger. My name is Eleanor Rose Thompson, 71 years old last spring, and I have loved too much and asked for too little. Mornings used to begin with the smell of coffee and bacon. I'd shuffle across the cold hardwood in my worn slippers, the ones with a hole in the left toe, and start breakfast before anyone else stirred. James was always the last to come down, hair tousled, mumbling "Thanks, Mom," while scrolling his phone. I'd watch the steam curl from his plate and think, this is enough. This is what mothers do. I buried my husband when James was 12. After the funeral, the bank started circling. I took double shifts at the hospital, night nurse, day nurse, whatever they gave me. My hands cracked from washing them 100 times a shift. My feet swelled so badly I had to cut the sides of my shoes. But the mortgage got paid, braces went on James's teeth, and his sister Emily got to do ballet. I never told them how many meals I skipped so they could have seconds. Years slipped by like pages in a book you don't realize you're almost finished reading. Emily married first, moved to California, calls on birthdays if she remembers. James met Claire, beautiful, sharp, ambitious Claire, and suddenly my little ranch house with a creaky porch felt too small, too old, to me. They wanted a bigger wedding than we could afford. I cashed the last of my retirement bonds. "It's fine," I said, signing the check with a shaking hand. "You only get married once." Claire hugged me, eyes shining. "Eleanor, you're an angel." James kissed my cheek and promised, "We'll take care of you forever, Mom." Forever lasted about 6 months. After the honeymoon, the hints began. My furniture was dated. My cooking was heavy. Maybe I should think about downsizing so they could buy the lot next door and expand. Claire would pat my hand and say, "We just want what's best for you, Eleanor." James would nod, but he wouldn't look me in the eye. Last winter I fell ill. Pneumonia, the kind that sinks into old bones. I was in the hospital 10 days. James visited once, for 20 minutes, said he had a work deadline. Claire never came. Flowers arrived from Mr. and Mrs. James Thompson, ordered online, no note in her handwriting. I stared at those supermarket roses wilting in the plastic pitcher and felt something inside me go very still. When the wedding invitation arrived, my name was misspelled on the envelope. Inside, a little card, Table 19. I laughed until I cried. Table 19 was practically in the parking lot. I sat on my bed holding that card for a long time. The house was silent except for the grandfather clock my mother gave me when I married. I thought of every Christmas I worked overtime so they could have the new gaming system. Every birthday cake I baked from scratch at 3 a.m. after night shift. Every time I said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. That night I called Richard Harrington. Richard has been handling my affairs since my husband died. He listened without interrupting while I told him everything. Then he said softly, "Eleanor, do you want to keep hurting?" I whispered no. He said, "Then let's stop." We worked quietly for weeks. New will. Revocable trust. The house. My house, paid for with 50 years of my blood and blisters, transferred into a trust they couldn't touch. The college funds I still had for grandchildren I rarely see. Redirected to a scholarship in my mother's name. Every promise they broke, I quietly unbroke for myself. The wedding day came. I wore the pale blue mother of the groom dress I'd bought months earlier, Before I understood, I was being erased. I pinned my mother's pearl brooch at the throat. Something old, something that was only mine. Richard met me at the venue. He offered his arm like the gentleman he is. "Shall we?" he asked. I slipped my hand through and felt steady for the first time in years. They put us behind that ridiculous screen. Waitstaff bumped past with trays. The smell of kitchen grease clung to the air. I could hear laughter from the real tables, crystal clinking, speeches about family and forever. Richard opened the leather folder on his lap and slid the new documents across so I could see my signature. Strong, clear, final. Then James saw us. He crossed the room like a man walking to his own execution. Claire trailed behind, face red under her perfect makeup. "Mom," he hissed. "What is he doing here?" I looked up slowly. "Richard is my guest. You put me at table 19, sweetheart. I thought I'd bring good company." Claire tried to laugh it off. "Eleanor, this is ridiculous. You're embarrassing us." Richard closed the folder with a soft snap. "Mrs. Thompson is no longer funding embarrassments." James's mouth opened, closed. "Mom, we need to talk. After the reception." "No," I said. My voice didn't shake. "We're done talking. You taught me words don't matter. Only actions." He started to bluster, the same way he did when he was 6 and broke my mother's vase. Tears, promises, tomorrow I'll fix it. Tomorrow never came then, either. Understood. The chair scraped loud in the sudden quiet. "I came today to see you married. I've seen it. I wish you whatever happiness you haven't already spent." Claire grabbed my wrist. "You can't do this. The house is mine," I said gently, pulling free. "And it will stay mine until I decide otherwise. Maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I'll open it to women who have nowhere else to go. But it won't be yours to push me into the spare room that smells like old paint." James looked around. People were staring now. His voice cracked. "You're my mother." "Yes," I answered. "And today I choose to mother myself." Richard stood beside me. Together we walked out past the fairy lights and the roses and the whispers. The night air was cool, almost sweet. My little car waited under the stars. I drove home alone, windows down, radio playing something old that made me cry in the best way. The house is quieter now. I sold the big dining table. Too many memories of empty chairs. I bought 2 rocking chairs for the porch instead. Sometimes Richard comes for coffee. Sometimes my neighbor Gladys brings lemon bars and we laugh until our sides hurt. I planted roses along the walk. Deep red ones that smell like forgiveness I no longer need to give away. I kept one thing from the wedding. The little place card that said table 19. It sits in a frame on my mantel. Beneath it I wrote in my best handwriting. She saved the best seat for herself. And every morning when the sun comes up over my garden, I whisper thank you to the woman who finally learned that love is not a debt children owe you. It is a gift you give yourself first so you never run out. If you're listening and your heart is heavy with the weight of one-sided love, hear me. You are not the spare room in someone else's story. You are the whole house. Lock the doors that need locking. Open the windows that need light. And when they come knocking, begging for the key they never earned, smile, darling. You've already changed the locks. The roses are blooming. Coffee is hot. And for the first time in 71 years, the chair across from me is waiting for no one but me.